Loving you isn't the right thing to do. How can I ever change things that I feel? If I could, baby, I'd give you my world. How can I, when you won't take it from me? You can go your own way. You can call it another lonely day. You can go your own way. Go your own way. Tell me why.
Hey, great to see you, Joe here, and thanks very much for joining me for another video. Okay, so all the usual stuff applies. If you find the video helpful or useful in any way, perhaps you could click on the like or the subscribe. For anybody who's interested, there's a link down below to my website, and for anybody who wants to help support me, there's also a link down there to my Patreon page. Okay, so on with this week's lesson, yeah, and what you just heard there was just my own little rendition of a song by Fleetwood Mac called Go Your Own Way. And I think it's a real great song, this. I mean, everybody seems to like it. Whenever I've kind of played it, it always goes down very well indeed. And there are a number of ways you can play it. I've played it kind of with a band full on, so just playing solo by myself, and it seems to work, you know, pretty well. Okay, so you may have noticed that when I was just doing my rendition there, I had the capo on the 1st fret, yeah? I've moved it up to the 3rd fret because that's where it's played on the CD and stuff, should you wish to play along with that, which is always a good idea just to get a feel for it. Now, I have slowed it down a little bit. On the record, it's quite quick. And when I play it acoustically, I just tend to play it a little bit slower. Okay, so let's get straight into this. We'll break it down into 2 parts because effectively that's what it's about. You've got a verse and you've got a chorus. And the guitar solo, if I'm not mistaken, is just played over a verse and a chorus, I think, as well. So knowing those 2 elements, you'll be pretty good to go with this song, yeah? All right, so the first chord you want to know is a D. And I'm sure you're familiar with that. And then an A. Now, for the A, try playing like a half bar. That's on the 2nd fret relative to the capo. You're just playing the bottom 4 strings, yeah? And then we have a G. And when we play this A, I should also add that we don't play that bottom string, because as we're fretting it, it wouldn't sound totally right, okay? But we'll come to that. Right, so on the right hand, we've got some palm muting, which kind of gives it that sound. And I'm just resting that side of my palm there on the strings. If you watch some of my lessons, I've talked about this on a number of occasions. And you just rest that there, all right? So what you're looking to do is to get this kind of feel. Now, remember, you don't always have to go quickly. Just start out at a tempo that you can, you know, manage. Because what's much more important is having the timing really solid. However slowly you're playing it or quickly, it needs to sound really solid. Okay, so try and aim for something like... Okay, so we're just playing the 3rd and 4th strings with the D. Now remember, in the verse, it's just D, A and G. Okay, so we have loving you isn't the right thing to do, A. Okay, so that's that half bar thing we were just looking at. Just the 5th and the 4th strings is really all you need for that. And again, dampen it. Then we go to it, and we just kind of... Okay, so you've got to get the feeling for the timing of these things, all right? So after we've played the A, we go to a G. Still dampening. Back to D. To the A, G, back into the D. And that's really all there is to the verse. And that's just one way of playing it. Obviously, I mean, there are many different ways, and you should kind of explore some of those as well. That's always a good idea. Okay, so that's your verse. And then once you've done that, so effectively what it is it's D, A, and G repeated twice, okay? And that makes up a verse. And then we go into a B minor, a G, and an A. And of course, you know, we can play an A like that as well, if you want to hit this bottom string, particularly, rather than the half bar. And that's for the chorus. That's just what I'm doing, yeah? You might just choose to play that A right throughout. Okay, so as I say, we have a B minor, a G, and an A. And you can probably hear how that makes up the chorus, yeah? So you've got... And so the kind of strumming is optional, what you do there. I'll just give you a couple of ideas. So you can go your own way. Yeah, something along those lines maybe. And you'll notice that a lot of what I'm doing is downstrokes. It's this kind of, you know, quick downstroke thing. Okay, so you really don't need many upstrokes at all for this. So that's kind of helpful to know as well. And so they're the two elements, and that's essentially all there is to it, yeah? So what I kind of tend to do is I dampen the verses, because that's kind of what's happening on the record. Yeah, it's kind of, I've got that kind of feel. And for the choruses, I let it ring. Yeah, so that's just my little slant on it, you know. As I say, explore it and see what works for you. So you've got the contrast then between the dampened sound of the verse and the, you know, letting that ring. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a difference between the two. Now, like I say, that's not to say you have to be tied by anything here. I mean, that's how I will tend to play it if I'm playing solo. But having said that, if I play in a full band, I've played it quite differently, because if there's electric guitars and bass and drums, you know, it affords you different things. So, you know, I kind of might generally will play it if I'm playing it with a band. I even let the kind of verses ring is what I'm trying to illustrate, and that kind of works quite nice. And that's just the D. All I'm doing is taking off that second finger to start with, and then it's going on like a hammer-on. Yeah? So as I say, try and explore it and see what works for you. That's the main thing. But whatever you do with it, it's a great little song, and I thought, you know, it was well worth us taking a little bit of a look at that. You know, as far as I'm aware, that the solo on it is just generally over a verse, and I think a chorus also. So as I say, you know, by knowing those two parts, you'll have what you need to kind of get your way through the song, as it were. So I hope that helps you, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave those below. It's always good to hear back from you and how, you know, you're finding the lessons and things like that. And I look forward to seeing you soon for another lesson. Thanks very much for watching.